And Ian, I wonder if you wanted to say something about the different kinds of losses that we see in Harry Potter.
It was something that really struck me when I was thinking about this question of grief in Harry Potter and the role that it plays across the series, and that it does explore a variety of ways in which people have to cope with, and certainly young children have to cope with loss of meaningful people in their lives. And so there's Harry's particular trauma, which is about having lost his parents as a baby, and he can only see them in photographs or in the Mirror of Erised, or as in some kind of Patronus form in the case of his dad. But there are other characters. I guess he's most often paralleled across the books with Neville Longbottom, and he has his own very meaningful but very kind of sad relationship with his parents. Is that they are still alive and he visits them regularly, but they can't recognize him because they were tortured into insanity when Neville was a baby. And I just always found it a very moving moment in, I think it's the 5th book, Order of the Phoenix, where Harry and the others are in the hospital for another purpose, and then they have this chance encounter with Neville as he sees his parents, and there's the kind of shame that's bound up with that as well. And this is an experience that he hasn't told his friends about. And when his mother, who doesn't know who Neville is, keeps giving him sort of discarded sweet wrappers, and Neville's grandmother says, "Oh, put them away. You've got so many now. You could wallpaper your whole room with them." And Harry sees Neville putting the sweet wrapper in his pocket and kind of saving it as the one material or kind of tangible connection that he has to his parents. And so I guess where in Harry there's a sense of loss of never being able to kind of to see his parents, Neville's sense of loss is about seeing his parents but then not being able to see him. And I just felt that's a really useful and very helpful way of opening up that question of loss. And sometimes it's to do with people who are no longer around, but sometimes it is also about people who are physically present, even if they're not the whole person.
Yeah, and I mean, Snape comes through as well, you know, as somebody who's mourning the death of Lily, mourning the relationship he never, you know, the full relationship he never got to have with her. His Patronus also is the doe. So it's you know, again, a kind of loving reminder of someone he's lost. And we also see how Harry Potter reacts differently to different losses. So he's lost his parents, but then he loses, you know, Cedric, and you know, and that's the kind of trauma really that we see him experiencing, where he's really distressed. And then with Sirius Black, he goes into a complete fury and guilt and rage. So we see, even with the same person, the variety of ways that grief can hit someone, and how loss can hit someone. The book's also quite good. I think also, yeah, the loss of the ideal, you know, the loss of his, you know, Harry sees his father acting badly. Dumbledore isn't quite the person he thought he was. But it's also good on what grief gives you. So I always like the moment with the Thestrals, you know, who you only see when you've witnessed a death, that somehow death and grief can open our eyes and allow us to see the world in new ways, and things that weren't visible become present and visible to us.
And both
yeah.
Sorry, Cathy.
Well, I think one of the things about when you experience grief at quite a young age, I think one of the things that, you know, life, the passage of time, it helps in the sense that more people see the Thestrals. So, you know, when I was 17, I felt really unusual amongst my peers. You know, again, I felt really cut off amongst my peers because my preoccupations were different preoccupations than theirs. Whereas now, to be honest, at 48, and certainly at the moment, everybody I know is dealing with some pretty substantial, hefty stuff. And so now I feel, and I've felt it increasingly over the years, just more people see the Thestrals. And again, I just think it's such a clever, you know, it's a very simple but clever way of explaining that thing, that you get something, but also you become, I have often thought of it as a club. It's like a club you join up to. Again, you don't want to, but you are actually then a member of the club. It's like that idea of, it is a gift. It's not a gift I asked for.
Yeah.
But it is also a gift.
It's a gift you'd give back if you could, but having been given it,
and you've got it. You know, now that you've got it, what are you going to do with that? And I think I mean, the other thing that's really interesting, I think, when you've experienced the books over a long different ages, is what does me in now. When I was reading it to my son, this is the bit where I just had to stop because I was in floods of tears. Now, as a mother, of course, I'll do it now. It's Molly Weasley. It's Molly Weasley with all those children and Harry she loves, and having to send them into danger. And I just can't, I just can't. But I would have, when I was younger, it never really occurred to me that Molly Weasley was anything other than I don't know, kind of, what is she, like a cake dispenser? I didn't sort of see her in her fullness. And now I would kind of, the whole of Harry Potter for me could be called the Ballad of Molly Weasley.
Yeah. And she, loses people, as you go forward, and that's really painful. And she's always aware of that possibility.